What is good, ninjas? OJ over here from PlayerEssence, and welcome to my village of Nintendo Switch and gaming news. Today, we've got a bunch of great information for you, so let's go ahead and get right into it. So, Mass Effect Andromeda, the journey ahead. The developers over at BioWare and EA have laid out the roadmap for them fixing Mass Effect Andromeda's multiple issues, and basically what it read as we are doing this. We plan to release a whole new game and release it in patches over the next 2 months. Thank you for your support. No, I'm joking. We're going to go over what they said here, and then we're going to talk about that just briefly because, as you guys all know, there's been a few videos that I'll point you in the direction of William Robertson Unseen 64 that kind of explains what happens with the actual facial animations, but there are other issues outside of facial animations. So let's go ahead and get into what EA BioWare has to say on the matter. So, quotations. Hi everyone, it's been 2 weeks since the launch of Mass Effect Andromeda, and we're thankful to the millions of you who have already joined us on this journey. And though the game is now in your hands, it really is just the beginning. Since launch, our team has been poring over your comments and feedback, looking to discover what you like about the game, as well as areas we can evolve or improve. This Thursday, we'll release a new patch that addresses technical fixes, crashes, improved performance, but also adds a number of improvements we've heard you ask for, such as allowing you to skip ahead when traveling between planets in the galaxy map, increasing the inventory limits, improving the appearance of eyes for humans and Asari characters, decreasing the cost of remnant description keys and making them more accessible at merchants, improving localized voiceover lip sync, fixing riders' movements when running in a zigzag pattern. That is hilarious, but that they actually singled that out. Improving matchmaking and latency in multiplayer. There are many more adjustments being made, all of which you can find in our patch notes, and there will be a link to the patch notes in the description below, guys. Over the next 2 months, we'll be rolling out additional patches which will go even deeper and look to improve several areas of the game, such as more options and variety in the character creator, improvements to hair and general appearance for characters, ongoing improvements to cinematic scenes and animations, improvements to male romance options for Scott Ryder. These upcoming patches will also adjust performance and stability issues, and we're looking at adding more cosmetic items to single player for free. For multiplayer, over the same time frame, we're going to continue to build on the Apex missions that have been running since launch. We'll be adding new maps, characters, and weapons. On Thursday, we kick off the first 3 new chapters centered around the Remnant investigation. This is just a taste of what's in store as we continue to support Mass Effect Andromeda, and as always, you all play an important role in that. We want to hear from you about your experiences, both what you love about the game and what you'd like to see changed. We're listening and we're committed to partnering with you as we continue to explore the Andromeda galaxy together. Here's to a great journey. So I have to say a couple things with this, because to me, it seems like EA, it seems like BioWare essentially messed this thing up from the very beginning, messed things up, and are really just trying to apply multiple band-aids. Now here's the good thing. The good thing is that they are changing a lot of things, that they are updating, but you can't sit here and tell me that you didn't notice all of these issues beforehand. You didn't see all of these problems and then all of a sudden act surprised when people are upset about the multitude of issues this game is having. All I wish is that they need to be a little bit more upfront with people, okay? Because they were so silent compared to Mass Effect 1 through 3 as far as the marketing, what they're talking about the game. They were so silent, and then once it launches and you know there's going to be all of these things here, oh, well, here's this big old thing that we're going to be doing. Look, I'm not saying that they should have delayed the game. All I'm saying that they should have worked more efficiently to make sure that these issues didn't happen in the first place, because I'm a big Mass Effect fan, and this is such steps backwards from Mass Effect 1 through 3 when it comes to certain things. More Mass Effect 2 that I'm really targeting, and Mass Effect 3 is probably the most polished Mass Effect out of any of the games. Well, between 2 and 3, they're both pretty polished at this point, considering everything that's been done. I'm not trying to sit here and say these guys are horrible for what they did and they're so garbage and I can't believe they're releasing all these patches and all this in order to fix the game. I'm happy that they're doing this, but I will purchase the game okay, when it's ready. When it's ready and it's actually good and it doesn't have all of these issues, then I will purchase the game. In my opinion, the game isn't fun enough to continue playing in the state that it's in. It definitely needs a little bit more work. They need to fix a few things before I decide I want to invest fully into it. So once you guys fix everything and there is a price drop, since you're wasting my time, EA, then I will definitely buy your game after that and only after that. But before that, I'm looking forward to the changes and fixes, and I'll be covering it just like always. All right, and moving on to the next article here. So NieR Automata shipments and digital sales top 1 million units. The total shipments and digital sales for NieR Automata have exceeded 1 million units, Square Enix has announced. The action RPG launched for the PlayStation 4 in Japan on February 23rd, in North America on March 7th, and in Europe on March 10th. And for PC worldwide on March 17th. So one of the cool things about this is that a lot of people complain or have said that, oh, well, Platinum Games has lost their edge, or Platinum Games, their games don't sell well, or Platinum Games this, Platinum Games that, based on some of the other games that they've made with their C-tier developers. But this proves that not only has Platinum pretty much still stayed with their edge as far as what they've done, but they can also have a game that sells well. So obviously we saw what Bayonetta did compared on the little install base of the Wii U, and now we're seeing what NieR Automata is doing compared on the massive install base of the PC and PS4 systems. 1 million shipments as far as digital sales, so not quite over 1 million units completely as far as sold through, but nearing that with shipments. So Square Enix has actually sold those copies to retailers, so they have gotten that money, and that's good for Platinum Games because this is easily one of their best selling games based on these numbers so far here with shipments and with digital sales. And I'm happy for Platinum to be able to release such a high quality game and for it to do well. I still am going to play the game at some point. I've only played a bit of it. I really need to get back into it, but Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild is just taking up all my time. But I do plan on streaming that and getting into NieR Automata once I free up some more time. But yeah, the game is definitely awesome. Go out there and buy it if you haven't already done so. PS4, PS4 Pro, and PC. Alright, so if you want the Secret of Mana collection on the Nintendo Switch localized, make sure you hit up Square Enix. So the M2 president responds to Secret of Mana 2 in English, says to contact Square Enix. So this is what M2 president had to say. English version of Seiken Densetsu 3, if a fan translation exists, Square Enix would have it, not us. If not, I don't think it's impossible to make. There's another tweet that he said, 1, but we haven't looked into it. If you really want an English version, I think the best chance would be to show Square Enix your enthusiasm. So please show Square Enix your enthusiasm. Please let them know that we want this game. I totally want the Seiken Densetsu or Secret of Mana collection on the Nintendo Switch in English. I think that would be great. There's a physical version of that game. It is a love letter to Secret of Mana fans everywhere. And there's a game that's never been localized officially in there with Seiken Densetsu 3, and I would love to see that game here. I think it's overdue. Why hasn't that game came over at this point? So let's hope. Let's kind of rush. Let's go over to Square Enix. You can tweet them. I'm probably going to be holding some type of event or something to where we can all get together and tweet Square Enix or something like that, just to let them know that there's support from the Secret of Mana fans out there. There might already be some movements out there, but if you guys want this game, definitely let Square Enix know about it. And like I said, I will be organizing something in order for us to kind of all tweet out at some point or something like that in a nice, respectful way, so we can get the Secret of Mana collection on the Nintendo Switch here in English and in the Western regions. Alright, and moving on to the last article here, Mr. Aonuma has talked about the open world Zelda formula will probably be the standard from this point on. So Famitsu asked Mr. Aonuma about the next Legend of Zelda game and the direction that they're going to go, and here's what he had to say. Quote, I think that in the future, open air games will be the standard for Zelda, and open air is basically what Nintendo's calling it. Outside of open world, they're calling it open air, basically where you can free move anywhere you want, go up to the highest points, lowest points, whatever. It's their way of saying open world games. So this is actually really good because I absolutely love the open world formula of The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. Being able to climb up any wall, being able to go in the water, and dive underwater, maybe that'll be the next thing that they do, but being able to paraglide through the air, being able to ride on your horse, being able to do so many different things in the Zelda world is so much better than being stuck in dungeons for 50% of the game, because that's what I kind of saw the Legend of Zelda games before then. It would be you're in a dungeon and you're in the dungeon for a really long time, and there's multiple ones and it just takes forever. Sometimes you forget what you need to do. Some of the puzzles are just kind of meh. Whereas with the Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, you can actually freely move about. The game is about just basically being an explorer, surviving the wild, combat. There are so many cool things that they've incorporated, and there are those little dungeon pieces that are in there as far as the shrines go, but they never overstay their welcome. There's some hard puzzles in there. There's some really easy ones. There's some parts to where you have to actually go through mazes itself, whether it's really cold. I mean, there's just so many things that you can do, so many different variations within the gameplay outside of just the standard Legend of Zelda typical affair. I know some people are upset with the whole dungeon thing and they want it to be like the old Legend of Zelda games, but that's what I don't want. I don't want to be stuck in dungeons all day. I really don't want to be solving puzzles the whole time. I love the formula of what they're doing with this one. The only thing that I would like to see is just basically some upgrades or improvements to probably like the weapon system. I think that would probably be the best thing, is being able to fortify durability onto your weapons, or even having weapons that recharge more than just completely breaking. I think that'd be the only thing that I would change a little bit, is just being able to have like a blacksmith in there to where you can fortify durability yourself, and also changing some of the stuff with the inventory. There is some more stuff that they can do as far as putting together armor sets and things like that in order to shrink down the inventory size, but other than that, those are kind of minor compared to the overall scope of the game as far as what I think that they did well. So I think going forward with The Legend of Zelda, heck, even in patches, maybe even in this Zelda game itself, we could see them improve some of the other aspects of the game. The game is already amazing, and I think a lot of the great things about The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild overshine pretty much everything else, or little gripes that some people might have. That's why the game is reviewed so well. That's why everyone's buying the Nintendo Switch and buying this game, Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, because it is that good of a game, and it's something completely different. They've really reinvented the conventions of Zelda compared to what they did before, because they talked about that with The Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword, but the sales didn't turn out the way that they wanted it to turn out, so I can see them not going down that path. Whereas with this game, you're having fantastic sales, already really good, and could possibly top Skyward Sword by the end of the year. I would probably say that it will top Skyward Sword by the end of the year as far as total overall sales, and on top of that, you have a system that's really pushing it with it, and you have a game that is reviewed way better. So definitely they're going to probably stick with this path and improve upon some of the things that they can with Breath of the Wild within the next game. Alright guys, that wraps it up for this video here. Go ahead and hit that like button if you did like it. Let me know you guys want more content like this going forward in the future, and subscribe to PlayerEssence for the latest news, reviews, discussions, and more. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll catch you ninjas in the next video. Peace!